What is up, guys? It's P from Why We Game, and today we're going to be bringing you guys the weekly video game news. I just smacked the trash out of my microphone. Oh, and that also reminds me, for some reason, Drake's not here today, unfortunately, so I'm without my PIC, without my partner in crime. I'm going to do my best to give you guys the news solo. That said, if you guys appreciate this type of content, whether it's the weekly gamer news or the video game reviews that we've just started with our recent The Last of Us 2 review, make sure to go check that out if you haven't already. Please make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you're new so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos that we have for you guys. With Ghosts of Tsushima right around the corner, another PS4 exclusive, it's kind of a really exciting time to be a gamer. That said, on the other end of that, we do have mostly poor gamer news to discuss, with just like one gleaming hope of light within my thing. So I have my notes here. We're going to go over the notes. Okay, let's just start with the good thing. And by starting with the good thing, I have to preface it by helping people understand the idea of loot boxes. Loot boxes in video games have been around for, I don't know, a good solid, I mean, we've got to be pushing about 10 years now. And their impact on our games has it greatly increased more recently, with maybe in the past 3 to 5 years. Now, you're going to see loot boxes all over the place, but mainly you see them in the annual sporting releases, whether that's FIFA, Madden, 2K, all that other stuff. But the likes of like EA, for example, have somehow found ways to incorporate loot boxes into like story or MMOs and shooter games. Like the Star Wars, the Battlefront game is a prime example of that. Now, the reason why loot boxes are so bad is because people have to pour real money into the video game to receive virtual items, or even worse, virtual money, right? Which baffles me that we do that as a community. Now, the thing that is good about this is a lot of people have put together a petition, and it has been signed by over 100,000 people. Specifically, our UK gamer friends across the pond have signed this petition and brought it to the House of Lords. If you're unfamiliar with the way that the government works in England, that's okay. Me too. I had to study up a little bit before this video. But the House of Lords is basically like a very shallow portion of their government. That is one of the first steps in, approaching, Parliament with bills and then trying to enact change and things like that. So the fact that this has garnered their attention is a humongous step. I warn you guys that a lot of people are going to look at this sort of news, and they're going to read the articles, and they're going to see the stuff on Twitter and Facebook and all that other stuff, and they're going to think that, okay, cool, the gamers have won, we've spoken, and change is coming. And that's just not true. We are in the process of things. We do need to make sure that we kind of keep our, keep the pedal to the metal kind of an idea. And if another petition comes around, you guys need to make sure that you're signing it. Be very, very vocal about how we just genuinely do not want these things in our game. So that is the first bit of news. It's, silver lining kind of good stuff. And I'm going to warn you right now, spoiler alert for the rest of the weekly news portion. It's not going to be fantastic. We're going to move on, and let's start light. We do have Cyberpunk bad news, which will be the first bit of bad news, and you guys are going to hear this and you're going to be like, okay, well, it could be way worse. They are going to be, I say they, only a few countries, mainly Japan, has spoken out about censoring some of Cyberpunk's content, specifically the massive and very detailed character creation within the game. Now, you only have the opportunity to pick from a male or female character, but there is a good bit of customization, especially in the video game, and in the beginning of the video game, being in particular the size of your genitalia, for example, or just customizing, I guess, what that looks like. I guess, they have the women and the male's genitalia, so you can do however you want to. I don't know what that means, whether we're talking about like small to humongous bulges for the males and whatever that means for the females. But yeah, and the Japanese in particular, and I imagine Australian government will follow, because they're pretty rigorous on censorship and rules like that. They will not be allowing that, I guess, portion of the game. So yeah, if you're in other countries, you probably don't need to worry about it in the UK or America and things like that. You probably don't need to worry about it, but it is a small portion of the game that is going to be censored. Not the best news, not the worst news, but we continue. Again, something that is just incrementally creeping up. Fallout and Bethesda have recently announced that they are going to be putting on a television show, and that for me, as a very old and loyal Fallout fan who did purchase 76, but obviously not in love with it and haven't played it really since like the first or second week of launch. And loving Fallout 4 and the different variations of Fallout 3. I'm tired of this, right? Like they are really milking this IP, and with the bitter taste in my mouth in particular left from Fallout 76 and just how memeable it is at this point. I don't know what to expect with the TV show. Is it something that I'm like super excited for and have humongous and super high standards for? No, it's not. Is it something that I'll just kind of pay attention to as we get more information? Yes, A, because of this channel, and then B, because as a gamer, I do want to see video games going into movies or other forms of entertainment. I want to see that stuff do well. But just the way that Bethesda has acted, I don't really have high hopes for this. Now, we do have news, I guess, on the production. The production side lists a couple very credible Hollywood producers, but we have not heard anything on the writers. So hopefully they don't do anything crazy like hire, the season 8 Game of Thrones writers or anything like that. That would be a super epic fail. But this is one of those big, we'll see how it ends up. And so whether you're a big Bethesda or Fallout fanboy, maybe you're a little more excited or less excited than I am. Yeah, well, that's how I feel about it. Let's see what else we got today. We do have The Last of Us 2. That is still remaining in the news where how divisive it has been. A lot of people love the game. A lot of people absolutely hate the game. Reasonable people like me kind of fall somewhere in the middle. And like I said before, if you guys want to see where or how I fall in the middle of this, Drake and I, go make sure to check out our Last of Us 2 video that is up on the channel. I'll make sure to link it down in the description below if you haven't seen it already. People are very, very upset on the way that the story's played out. I've seen nobody's mad. I mean, I guess there are very shallow, ridiculous people who are mad about, putting, I guess, gay or transsexual characters into the game and putting them on a platform. That's not us. You'll notice in the review, we don't mention that stuff at all. And if that's something you're mad about, honestly, you need to check yourself. But people are really, really upset about that and just the general direction of the story and the writing from Neil Druckmann and I guess his writing team. And even to go as far as to, I guess, give the voice actor of Abby lots of very direct death threats and things like that via her Twitter DMs. I'm sure there are more than that, but she has brought them out publicly, again, with her Twitter, her platform on Twitter. And it has just been met with a whole lot of people just like, it's like an outpouring of support. And here on this channel, we don't support anything like that. Like if you're the type of scum who's going to send death threats, especially over a video game, right? Death threats in general, but especially over just get over it, man. You're ridiculous. And that's part of the reasons why like social media and Twitter and stuff like that are just, you see lots of lowlifes and trolls and people making accounts that just have like, anime characters as profile pictures and things like that because they hide behind that stuff and they just spew toxicity and just regurgitate other people's toxicity on those platforms. The best thing that you can do is ignore it. And when you see it, report it and just do your best to just not let it get to you because that's just the way that people are when you give them anonymity. I'm trying to say that word right. I have it written down in front of me. You guys can't see it because I was trying not to say anonymity. Anyway, when you're anonymous, you think you can get away with a lot of stuff and you say a lot of the things that you would never say in person. And that is Twitter in a nutshell. Again, if you're the type of person to do this, just don't, man. Just don't. It makes you scum. Seriously, it really does. So best of luck and best wishes from our channel to everybody who's experienced that sort of stuff, in particular, The Last of Us 2 and the cast and everybody who worked on that game. Fantastic game, whether you agree with it or not. A lot of people poured a lot of time and effort into it. It's just not right to do what people are doing to them. So we're going to move on, and this is sort of the centerpiece of this, and it's something that hits really close to home. If you've been paying attention to the channel, then you guys know that my background in gaming is more of, I play everything, but I have quite the resume when it comes to sports games, most recently in FIFA. But as somebody who's been in the basketball realm of things, whether it's playing, I've been coaching for a few years and stuff like that, 2K hits really, really close to home. The problem with this is they have recently announced price bundling for their PS5 2K21 series. There's lots of different prices, but it's going to launch at a $10 increase from the norm, from $60 to what we experience is the norm for video games right now, all the way up to $70. They're saying that there's lots of value to be had, which is very subjective. But the one thing that is not as subjective is most companies are saying, hey, it's costing us 4 to 5 times more than it used to create these video games, and maybe the $60 price point isn't necessarily fair. Now, I've got a couple different takes on this. The first of which is this. Let me start by saying this. If you're like a single player game, like The Last of Us 2 or Red Dead Redemption or Ghost of Tsushima, which we'll be reviewing next week, if you're those types of games that lack multiplayer, I guess Red Dead has multiplayer, but you know what I mean? That's a single player immersive story. If you're those types of games and you want to bump up your price point to 70, with the minimum, aside from like the super deluxe editions or whatever like that, I would be understanding because of the costs of the games and how much it is to create them. I would understand that. There's no other sources of income for those. Now, if you're a game like 2K that comes out annually and you have game modes in there that actually pay for themselves, if not themselves, for the entirety of the game, right? FIFA, for example, FIFA is a perfect example. There's been releases, leaks saying information about how FIFA's Ultimate Team is 20% of EA's profit annually. Like as recent as this year and last, like that stuff is crazy out of line to me. And 2K falls under the same category. Like, you release your game every single year. You have a My Team, right, which is an ultimate team, is a card collector's thing, and that's where the loot boxes are like really, really bad. So about the whole thing about the House of Lords and stuff, they're going to get hit pretty hard with that, hopefully. But they have the game mode that supports that stuff, and on top of that, their main game mode, which is My Career, that comes around with My Park and Pro-Am and their rec center, where you basically create a virtual version of yourself or, a virtual version of whatever kind of basketball player you want to be. And it costs, if you want to catch up, and it's sort of like this pay-to-win system. If you want to catch up and fill all your stats up as soon as possible, it's going to cost you roughly $50 American to do that, right? So you have that. And imagine the types of people that want to make several different types of characters, right? You're talking roughly $50 a character. Now, there are ways in the game to earn VC, but it is nowhere close to the amount like per game. Like if you go play a game in the park with your virtual character, you're talking, depending on events in the park, you're talking about 300, sometimes up to 500 virtual currency per game that you receive, where you need roughly 250,000 to put into a brand new player. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And for 2K to say, hey, we have all these different outlets and different ways to funnel money towards our games, towards the 2K NBA series, and for them to still raise the initial price point of it, it just seems absolutely selfish. It is, if not on par, exceeding any selfishness that EA has done in recent years, with the Star Wars Battlefront being another perfect example of loot boxes and in-game purchases that did not belong in a game. Now, you can make a case for how these belong in the game, and you know what? Fine, I would probably listen to that case, but you can't have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it too, right? If you have all this money coming in from in-game purchases, then you don't need to raise the price point. Please remember, guys, that this is the same company that is now on Xbox Game Pass, right? If you pay for the Xbox Game Pass subscription through Microsoft, then you're getting this game for free. And the reason why 2K has partnered with them in order to do this is because they know once they get people's foot in the door, they're still going to make a ridiculous bundle of money through all the in-game purchases that they will be tempted to make, right? So this is an absolutely disgusting display from 2K. And I urge you guys, and especially my sports gamer community out there, we get taken advantage of a lot. If you guys want change, man, you need to make sure that you're not supporting this stuff. Don't buy the game at launch, right? Just don't, right? Let them know. We can pass a petition around just like they did for the House of Lords out in UK for the loot boxes. It's type of stuff that they can only do to us what we allow, but we need to push together as a community in order to change these things. So that's sort of my rant and rave about that. I don't want this video to be too long. If you guys want me, because I have a lot more to say about it, if you guys want me to rant and rave a little bit more about the 2K stuff, I'll get Drake in here and we'll kind of go in on it because there's a lot to be said about it. So that is all the news that I have for this week. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. I know that we're very, very small, and sometimes our words it's difficult to think that our words are having lots of impact. But if you guys do appreciate it, again, make sure to like and subscribe, share it with a friend so they're getting this bit of information, right? All of us, all the gamers, guys, we need to come together, share this information, get in the comment section. If you guys have something that you want us to cover next time, or you think warrants a standalone video, I would love to hear it. If you guys are excited for Ghost of Tsushima, man, share that in the comments as well. That said, thank you so much for clicking on the video, and I will see you in the next one, man. Peace.